Hello, everyone. Again, this is Rob coming at you with the latest edition of Rob's Rockin' Wrestling. No funny little intros or anything today. Just wanted to get down to things because this is going to be my Great Balls of Fire review. Yes, last night, Sunday, July 9th, 2017, WWE presents the first ever Great Balls of Fire Raw exclusive pay-per-view. And yes, when they first announced the name of this particular pay-per-view, myself included, many of the WWE universe were stunned by the choice of name. This was a goofy, really silly name almost that none of us wanted to get behind. But then we started seeing the match card come together. And once you start seeing the match card come together, you start to realize, wait a second, are they trying to make up for the fact that they came up with this shoddy name at best? Or did they actually just want to give us a good solid pay-per-view? Didn't really matter what the hell the name was. Either way, presenting Great Balls of Fire WWE pay-per-view last night. We started with a kickoff show, cruiserweight action from 205 Live as Neville defending the cruiserweight title against Akira Tozawa. This match, very intensity, high paced action from start to finish. A lot of back and forth. The match itself was quite interesting, quite good. Tozawa were really getting a lot of great offense and really looking like somebody who they want to have in the upper areas of 205 Live. So this is somebody that you know the WWE are looking to have as a main player in 205 Live. It goes without saying the match ended kind of abruptly, though. That was my biggest beef with this entire match. I know that it was a heel tactic to win, but it seemed like such a... it was a long time that Tozawa seemed up on the ropes before Neville kind of got that kick in that sent him down that kind of low blow cheating way. And it seemed like for everything else that Tozawa has ever been able to kick out of, this seemed kind of soft for a finish for how he finally gets beat. The amount of brutality these guys put each other through, and then that's what ends up being the kicker. Yeah, a little bit on the soft side for me in terms of the finish, but good to see that they will extend this feud. By the looks of it, hopefully they don't just, blow it off with a rematch tonight on Raw, which you almost guarantee it's going to happen tonight on Raw or 205 Live. It would be nice to see these two kind of get under each other's skin for a little bit and see them take on each other at SummerSlam instead of with this being a back and forth and maybe seeing a rematch at SummerSlam, which would be like their third or fourth encounter or something like that. At least give them something to work with leading into SummerSlam, unless you've got something way better in store. And at the moment, I'm not so sure the WWE does have something better in store for either one of these guys moving into SummerSlam. So a good solid feud between the two of them, I think, is what needs to occur. Moving on from there, we get to the main show, the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view, and to start the night off, we're going to have Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins, the match I was least excited for in terms of booking perspective. Not that I dislike either one of these guys. Actually, quite a big fan of both Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins, more so Bray Wyatt even, because it's just the type of character I've always enjoyed. So, yes, the match goes in the fashion that you would kind of expect at first. Bray Wyatt really holding his own and, giving you that belief that it's like, he's scouted his opponent. He knows his opponent inside out. He's in his head. He's got him beat. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, any moment now, Seth is going to make that all too notorious comeback, and we're going to end up seeing a Seth Rollins victory, which is what I had been predicting from the start. Much to my surprise, though, that was not the case, as Bray Wyatt actually looked very dominant in this match and picking up the win. A surprise win on pay-per-view for Bray Wyatt, especially over Seth Rollins. I almost feel like, I said again, neither man really can come out of this feud looking great. I mean, it was a much needed win for Bray Wyatt on pay-per-view, but again, is it going to then be hindered by the fact that they'll continue the feud? Seth Rollins is going to get his heat back, and Bray Wyatt's just right back to where he was. Great look for Seth Rollins, bad look for Bray Wyatt, kind of thing. This is where I'm going with this, is that both these men needed something that could propel them. And each other at the moment is not something that could propel them, because both men need to go on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. I think Wyatt needs a feud where he can just absolutely dominate and really, get inside the head of his opponent. Somebody that, is willing or is able to, eat some losses to Bray Wyatt without it really being detrimental to their current run within the WWE. At the same time, I think much can be said for Seth Rollins. He needs to be knocking off some big opponents. I mean, he's coming fresh off of, a feud with Samoa Joe. He beat Triple H at WrestleMania. This is a guy that the company foresees as, a huge star moving forward. I mean, they put him on the cover of the WWE 2K18 video game. You would really think that these kind of things would factor into booking decisions. But again, it's not my company. I do not run a billion-dollar wrestling promotion, so who am I to say? We'll see where it goes. I just, again, a little confused over why they chose to go down the path of having these two in a feud with each other. Nonetheless, it was a good way to start off the night. The crowd was definitely firmly into this match. I mean, they were ready to have a raucous night. Little did they know that this night was going to be off the charts. I mean, it went from, a start like this, and it continues to escalate. And we're going to get to that, folks. So just bear with me here, because moving up next, we have the women's title match. I believe was next on the card. Yes. So Alexa Bliss taking on Sasha Banks for the women's championship. This match was probably one of the, I gotta say, I'm gonna go on the limb and say probably one of the best women's matches that's been on the Raw side of things in quite some time, actually. Since probably the departure of Charlotte over to SmackDown, I would actually say there has not really been a strong presence of the women on Raw outside of Alexa as a character, but she has not yet had that great match kind of thing, something more memorable. And not to say this match was great in the sense of what we saw sometimes with Sasha and Charlotte, but again, this is the real beginnings of a potential good feud here. Both looking great inside the ring. Sasha and Alexa seem to have great in-ring chemistry. Definitely working well with the two of them there. Typical Alexa fashion, she ends up with her title around her at the end of the night. Alexa, outside of the ring, manages to stay out for a 10 count. She loses the match to Sasha Banks, guaranteeing this will be a continued feud, as Alexa remains the champion despite Sasha's win. Alexa is carrying her title up the rampway, kind of gloating that, she's the champion, and that's when Sasha Banks comes out and with fire starts taking out Alexa Bliss and finishes it off with the double knees from off the Raw announce team table to the floor where Alexa Bliss is. What a great spot. Really got the crowd pumped up. Got me jumping out of my seat. This is how you book some heat in the women's division, folks. This is good stuff. This is what we needed. This is what we didn't get when Alexa Bliss and Bayley were feuding, but we are getting with Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. So it's nice to see. This shows that determination that we really, really want those titles kind of thing. So, actually I think it was just after this or just before this was the tag titles. I'm trying to read my notes here. I apologize if I am not fully on target right at the moment. But anyways, we will move on to the tag title match, which I can't remember if that was second or third on this card. So up next, tag team titles on the line. This is a half an hour Iron Man match between The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, the tag champs, and the Hardy Boys. What I gotta say first of all was, man, this match, if at this point in time you're thinking to yourself, could there be anything better than this match on the card once it was all said and done? Especially, it's like, will the other matches manage to live up to it? And you know what, they did. Like this is one of those cards that built and built and built kind of thing, so which was great. But man, this match really showed the potential of this pay-per-view and really showed what these two teams can do. In shocking fashion, the first fall went to Sheamus and Cesaro. Sheamus and Cesaro picking up a win, as I believe it was Matt Hardy that was in the ring for the Hardy Boys, and it was Sheamus that was in for Sheamus and Cesaro. Cesaro runs into the ring towards Matt Hardy, ducks underneath him, and slides out of the ring. Right then, brogue kick from Sheamus. They pick up a quick fall, 16 seconds, I believe, that they go 1-0 up on the Hardys, so big advantage there for Sheamus and Cesaro. They then dominated the Hardy Boys for the first 10 minutes, where they then picked up a second fall, going up 2-0. The Hardy Boys would bounce back with a fall, making it 2-1. Then Sheamus and Cesaro would then pick up a third one. So 3-1, Sheamus and Cesaro. Hardy Boys would bounce back, though, with 2 more wins. 2 minutes left on the clock, and we were all tied up at 3. This kind of booking is, pretty standard for Iron Man matches. They don't want to have a Iron Man match where, it's obvious who's won it. And, like usually speaking, you don't want to know the winner so far in advance that it becomes boring. So when this all tied up at 3 with 2 minutes left, you knew, like, things were going to get wild. And just when you thought the Hardys had it, I mean, you just, for a split second, take your eye off the screen and you don't notice Cesaro getting that tag in. You think they've got this all said and done. It's their swanton bomb, going for the pin. No, wait, not the legal man. In comes Cesaro. He rolls Jeff Hardy up. 1, 2, 3. Sheamus and Cesaro pick up the big win. What a match. What a finish. A lot of twists and turns in this one, you guys. This was a classic tag team match. A classic Iron Man match in that sense too. The Hardy Boys once again stepping into a different type of match. These guys have really been a staple for making a difference in the tag division ever since I was growing up when I first started seeing them. These guys have been in many great classic tag team matches, and all the props to them. I mean, they made this match exciting. So did Sheamus and Cesaro, and I mean, at the same time, Sheamus and Cesaro, man, these guys look like an absolute dominant force and have been a very creative tag team at the same time. Very big fan of all 4 guys involved. Well done, gentlemen. Moving on, we had an Intercontinental Championship match. Dean Ambrose taking on The Miz. I think nobody was going to be surprised by this match unless Dean Ambrose walked out the Intercontinental Champion. I think the company is very firmly behind The Miz as an Intercontinental Champion, and so they should be. I mean, he holds that title with such pride, and he brings a relevance back to it. Not taken away from Dean Ambrose at all, but the title just doesn't have the same fit with Ambrose as it does with The Miz. Especially now The Miz has The Miztourage, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel at his side. Yes, they would play a factor in this match, but Dean Ambrose, the smarter of the two, actually took them out early on in the match. He actually went for the quick attack on both Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas on the outside of the rope, or ring side there. But it would prove to be too much between Maurice, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel there. The distractions became too much for Dean Ambrose. Miz picking up the big win, much to the surprise of pretty much absolutely nobody that night. So, moving on from there would be the ambulance match. Now, oh my God, there is so much to talk about in this match. I don't even know. Jesus, guys, like, I'm at a loss for words. I still don't know what to say after last night between these two guys. This has got to be, and I'm not afraid to say it, one of the best WWE feuds in recent memory, and it's going to, as long as it continues to go the way it's going, or have these kind of occurrences, go down as one of the better WWE feuds, period. I don't care what you say. I hate Roman, I hate Roman. You can hate Roman all you goddamn want to. This feud has been phenomenal. It has been excellent. It has propelled Braun Strowman, a guy who, just a little over a year ago, when there was rumors of him getting a chance to take on Undertaker at WrestleMania 32, I believe it was, we were against it. It's like, oh, he's too green. No, we don't know this guy. We can't trust him. No way can we see this guy main eventing, with the likes of the Undertaker. And now, I mean, there's a total change of pace. I mean, Braun has really proven himself. This feud has helped him immensely, and he has become a, a, a freaking star out of this. But man, these two just took it to each other. Once again, you thought their payback match was something to behold. You put these two into an ambulance match where they can literally use whatever they want around that ring to destroy each other. And you almost get the impression like they were told to murder each other out there. Like, this is fans firmly behind Braun Strowman, not behind Roman Reigns like the booking normally would suggest for this kind of thing. And where it went from there is just astonishing. These two took it to each other hellaciously inside the actual ring before heading up the rampway, where we would see Strowman throw Reigns into the side of the ambulance again. Reigns then end up tossing Strowman through the LED paneling on the upper ramp, and all this the scaffolding and stuff falls on top of Braun like he's something out of a freaking horror movie. Like, this is Reigns taking on Jason Voorhees. This is Reigns taking on Michael Myers kind of thing. Like, he's got him down. And all of a sudden you're thinking, that's it. And Reigns has this look on his face like there's no way he gets up from this. And next thing you know, the monster among men starts shuffling around. He's pushing things aside, and he's coming back for more. He wants more of a fight. And god damn it if we aren't excited to see it, because you don't get a guy in modern day wrestling that it's believable that they can take this kind of damage and still stand back up. I know there's a lot of promotions out there and a lot of people enjoy them where they're busting goddamn cinder blocks over each other's heads and getting up 2 minutes later. To me, that doesn't feel authentic. This felt more authentic. I mean, these aren't cinder blocks or anything crazy like that. Don't get me wrong, it gets a little crazier, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, this isn't to the extent of breaking cinder blocks over a standard guy's head or, hitting them with, immense amounts of chair shots and pile drivers and all sorts of things that would normally destroy any human body, no matter who they are. So, that being said, the realism was a little bit better on this. The ending of the match was quite interesting too. Reigns' Superman punch to Strowman has him on the edge of the ambulance, is going to go for the spear to spear the big man into the ambulance. Braun ducks out of the way. Reigns basically spears himself into the actual ambulance. I'm laughing up even thinking about the scene. It was done so perfectly. Braun shuts the doors. He is the big winner of the night. But it would not end there, as Braun is celebrating. Roman Reigns comes back out of the ambulance, and he comes for more. He starts taking Braun out, puts Braun in the back of the ambulance, gets in the damn ambulance, and starts driving away. And you're thinking, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? So we go back to the backstage. Roman puts the ambulance into reverse and backs that son of a bitch right up into a trailer. Oh my god, like, when was the last time you saw something like this on any form of WWE television? I mean, my god, this was incredible to watch. I was out of my seat. Holy shit, who knew this was going to happen? And the monster among men is pinned inside this ambulance. After Roman hit it, Roman gets out. He stumbles around backstage. Everybody's stunned, like, holy shit, did we just see Roman Reigns turn heel? Like, what is the idea here? It's intriguing. We need to watch WWE Raw tonight, because now we need to know what's going to happen. Like, these two monsters went and they demolished each other. And Reigns, man, took it to Strowman with this stunt of sorts. The Jaws of Life were brought in to open the door back up to get Braun out, and as they do, Braun shoves the medical team out of the way, dripping in blood, turns and gives this all too evil face to the camera with this blood and sweat coming down. It's all through that beard and that one eye, that look of that one eye, like you've woken something worse up than ever before. And as he tells them to leave him alone, he walks back off like a true monster. And yeah, I know there's a lot of references on the internet, and even last night, that people talking about like, it's like a scene out of a horror movie, like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers kind of thing. And there's a reason people are saying this. I am a big fan of horror films, and that's the exact impression I got as it happened. Like watching Braun in these situations and him get back up. It made you believe this was a scary human being. This is a scary person that is out for vengeance, and vengeance he will get. I would not want to be in Roman Reigns' shoes come tonight if Braun Strowman is capable of standing on his own 2 feet. So, while that mayhem's all going on, we kind of inserted a weird Kurt Hawkins versus Heath Slater match, which we started to see, but then we went back to the whole crash scene backstage, didn't see the finish. All we heard was the bell ring, and Heath Slater got the pin, so I'm sure the people in the arena got to see the finish. We at home did not get to witness that, and really, we were so distracted that nobody cared. I think we would have complained more if we would have seen the match in its entirety, been like, what the hell is this match doing on the card, so high up the card? Especially when, you've got the likes of guys like R-Truth and Goldust currently in a feud, Finn Balor and Elias Sampson in a feud, and you throw Heath Slater and Kurt Hawkins out there. Like, no disrespect to either one of those guys, but were they really in need of being out just before the main event and right in between all that? I guess, in some sense, WWE didn't want to distract from what was going on backstage. So putting out, Elias and Finn, or, anything like that, it could have taken away from what was going on. Goldust and R-Truth, I mean, it probably would have taken away, but at the same time, not necessarily so much. I don't think that, either one of those guys is up there enough with the audience that what was going on would have mattered, kind of thing. Like, I don't think Goldust and R-Truth, it would have taken too much away, where Finn and Elias would have, because obviously the fans so in love with Finn Balor that his second he would have walked out, it would have been like, who cares about the ambulance stuff anymore? So yes, I understand the placement of this match. I just didn't understand why this match in particular. I think that there was opportunity for maybe something else that made a little bit more sense, but nonetheless, not a big deal. Going into our main event, like, how do you go and top what we have seen already? And I mean, you were never going to get it topped to the extremity of what we had just seen with the ambulance. But at the same time, I'm looking at the time thinking, my God, there's not much time left. Like, is this going to be another one of those Brock comes out and he finally gets his revenge, where it becomes suplex, 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 F5 pin, and the match is over? And Joe looks like a chump after all these weeks of, really giving us an interesting feud. And that's exactly what we didn't get. For one of the first times ever, I saw Brock Lesnar putting on a match. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't see a lot of offense from Brock Lesnar, or a lot of difference in his move, but the fact that he was selling to somebody more, that's just it. The fact that he was selling Joe as a badass. I mean, yeah, Joe hit him from behind when his back was turned, but Joe took the fight to him, and I have not seen Brock sell to somebody and make somebody look that tough in God knows how long. Maybe since The Undertaker, I haven't seen somebody get so much offense in and have Brock look like he's vulnerable. I mean, Goldberg sure beat him, but there wasn't a whole lot to that at the same time. This time here, I mean, it wasn't so much as, with Goldberg an upset pin or anything like that. Joe literally was taking it to Brock. I mean, he was laying a beat down on the champion like we haven't seen, which makes Joe look that much more dangerous. I mean, yes, Brock comes out with the win because Joe, made that one little error where he kept trying with the coquina clutch, didn't realize that Brock would pull off that feat of strength at the end and get the F5 for the win. But man, did Joe look strong. Joe looked excellent coming out of this match. And, I don't say this often, and I probably might never say it again, but kudos to Brock Lesnar for selling this match and giving somebody a chance to really look on his level. It doesn't happen often. And I think Joe's one of those guys that fits the description of what they need for that kind of booking. Especially, the way Joe has looked all his career and stuff like that to this point. I think this was one of the first times they had somebody who legitimately looked like they could be a threat to Brock Lesnar and had enough experience to be a threat to Brock Lesnar at the exact same time. So this was done perfectly. It looked perfect. I think in the end, yeah, Brock Lesnar got the win, but I think the true winner in this match is Samoa Joe, because after the feud that occurred, the match that occurred, everything that occurred, Samoa Joe, whether he is holding the title or not right now, looks like a absolute badass. He looks like a total threat to the main event scene in WWE. He looks like the kind of guy that now you're going to have to watch out for. At the same time, people are always worried about Brock Lesnar. What can I do when I get in the ring with the Beast? But now you got to watch out, because there's a guy who isn't going to show up just for pay-per-view paychecks. You got a guy here now, Samoa Joe, that's there week in, week out, and he's looking to fight. And I would not want to be on the receiving end of anything Joe's bringing to the table, because it was not going to be pretty at all. So, anyways, that's Great Balls of Fire in a nutshell, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know on Twitter as well. What did you think of Great Balls of Fire? Was it as good as you had hoped it was? Was it better than your expectations were? Let me know. I'd like to hear from you. Before I wrap things up, I just wanted to cover a few pieces of wrestling news here. Austin Aries released on Friday from WWE. From the sources I have read, this was not a mutual thing. By my understanding was that Aries was upset with the WWE, and his position within the WWE was upset when his kickoff show match from WrestleMania was not featured on the DVD set of the release of WrestleMania. Therefore, he wasn't paid the same kind of royalties as if it would have been on there, so that upset him. He was making waves with people backstage within WWE, so it sounds like there was a little animosity on both sides. WWE in the end deciding to release Austin Aries from his contract, which means that Austin Aries has a non-compete for a little while, meaning we probably won't see him show up anywhere else until about October, so we'll see where his career ends up over there. Wish only the best to Austin Aries. Other big news, my God, Madison Square Garden on Friday night, AJ Styles winning the United States Championship from Kevin Owens, so definitely have to tune into SmackDown Live on Tuesday to get more about that interesting piece of news. But again, more reason to go to a house show every once in a while, because you just never know what could happen. And don't say it's just in the big places, folks, like Madison Square Garden, because I'll tell you what, when I was a little kid, I went to a house show here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I got to witness a title change as well. I witnessed when Ric Flair dropped the world title to Bret the Hitman Hart in Saskatoon, and it wasn't one of these ones where immediately the next day it changed hands back, or, the referee decided that they have to restart the match. No, it was a legit thing. Bret Hart's first title win was at a house show, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. So therefore, it can happen. It's not an occurrence that happens all the time, but it definitely can happen. So, go out and support the house shows as much as possible. They're a little bit, smaller ended sometimes, a little bit more intimate, but you can have a lot of fun with these things at the same time. Going to a live show is remarkable, whether it be WWE, whether it be New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, any of those big names. It is fun to go to their shows when they're in your area, and better yet, check out your local indie shows. Depending on where you're listening from, you probably got tons of indie promotions within your area that do shows all the time. Get out and support these guys. These guys are the ones that are trying to make the stars of tomorrow. These are the guys who are, guys and gals, are busting their asses day in and day out to perform, and if you think these guys are out there, these guys and gals are out there busting their asses and making, tons of money or anything like that, don't kid yourself. There is not a ton of money to be made. A lot of the times, these people are, especially if they're in their local area, are working a lot of these things for free to get their foot in the door, get their name out there and stuff like that. The best they do is if they get merchandising. If they sell their merch, they make money. So yes, there is that advantage to them. So get out to these local shows. Find out what the characters of tomorrow are. Support them. Buy their T-shirts. Anything like that. With that being said, on a local note, I am working on getting a couple of special guests from a local promotion here in Saskatoon, known as HIW. Anyone who is familiar with me knows that I am a big fan of High Impact Wrestling Canada, and that I have done a lot of work with them so far. We're looking forward to hopefully doing a lot more work, but I'm looking to possibly get 2 guests from HIW Canada on the show, hopefully within the next week. So that's definitely something to look forward to. I'm not going to let you know any names at this point because you're just going to have to wait until that episode is ready to go. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. I will be back probably midweek, I'm thinking, as I do review of what all the happenings of the shows this week in WWE as well, and then might have that special episode with my very special guests coming up maybe as early as next weekend, so I will keep you all informed. In the meantime, check me out on Twitter at VaporRob, hashtag the real Bobby Munson. Definitely give me a subscribe on YouTube. I know I say this each time, and I know that at least 10 of you are listening out there, because I get approximately anyway. I don't know who's all listening. I know I'm probably accountable for at least 2 of those views of my own, even though it's hard to listen to myself on a recording. But yes, please give me a subscribe on YouTube. It'll definitely help out. I want to try to build this up best I can. So anything you can do to help, give me a subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Definitely do that, and feel free to engage me. Message me anytime. I'm happy to chat with anybody out there in the WWE universe as well too. With that being said, I'm out for this week. We'll talk to you soon.